behind the scenes with future country rock blues kings and queens. Discover them first with Palm Mash TV. Palm Mash TV.
Well, hello there. It's Paul Mash TV time again. Thank you so much for joining us. We've got another great interview coming up in just a moment. But don't forget about that subscribe buttons and bell buttons below you there, and you're always going to be notified of any new episodes coming your way. And leave a comment on the comments section if you like. We'd love to hear from you there. And pay attention to the description part of this episode as well as the closing credits, because we're going to have contact info for you so you can contact us. So we hope you'll stay tuned for that. From New Brunswick, New Jersey today, we have Andy Bernstein, a very talented artist. I think you're really going to love this interview. And we'll get to that in a second, but first here's another quick word from the Caden Gordon Show. So don't go away, we'll be right back right after this.
It is Caden from the Caden Gordon Show. Today's best country mix. Check out my show at thecadengordonshow.com.
Okay, we're back, and with us from New Brunswick, New Jersey today, we have Andy Bernstein. Thanks for joining us, Andy.
You're welcome, Paul. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem. We're glad to have you. As you know, a lot of people get their start different ways as far as music is concerned. I'm sure you probably enjoyed music ever since you were a little kid, but maybe you decided to do it much later. I mean, everyone has their own story. Go ahead and tell us your story.
Well, I have been in and out of it my whole life. There were points where I was working on a project and ran up a dead end, or a job in another career ended, and I said, well, why don't I try playing music again? And then, of course, here in New Jersey, we go through periods where different cities develop scenes. So at the current moment, it's Jersey City and Asbury Park, I would say. Although they are doing, you mentioned Newark when we were talking before, they're doing the north, not South by Southwest, but the North to the Sea festival in Newark, Asbury Park, and Atlantic City. So on different weekends, they're moving the festival around. And we're a little state, so it's kind of easy to do.
Okay, well, that's quite a story there you got, and I'm sure you still have many years ahead of you, so I hope you have good luck with that. Well, why don't you tell me about some of the artists that you grew up with that helped motivate you to be the singer you are today?
Well, I'd have to say this: growing up in New Brunswick, where I still live, I was in the minority. White kids were in short supply, and it was a very fertile atmosphere of African Americans and Hispanics who had either moved from the Deep South or from wherever in South America, Mexico, the islands, coming to New Brunswick because Johnson & Johnson World Headquarters are there. It's a big industrial tech center, and the State University is there. So you had this large mix of people who were minorities in other parts of the country, but in my neighborhood, I was the minority. So, you know, you sort of go with the flow. And I got turned on to, this would have been in the 60s and 70s. I got turned on to soul music. I got turned on to gospel. And there's always a gospel style tune on the 3 records that John Pittis did with me. So I was always turned on by that. My parents mostly listened to classical music, but they loved folk music. They were not red diaper babies, but they liked American folk music. I think they were both the children of immigrants, so it introduced them to our nation. And so there was folk music played at home. And I sort of got exposed to all of that. And then when I got a little older, we were talking about musicians who came from New Brunswick. Lenny Kaye, who's in Patti Smith's band and who leads his own group now called the Nuggets, which I have 2 members playing with me. I stole them, so to speak. He was one of the big kids, one of the heroes in town, because he played electric guitar with a big amp and had a successful band at Rutgers University. And he was very, very tolerant of young kids who wanted to get to know the stuff. So we all hung around Lenny, and I owe him a lot. Turned me on all those singles that he has been putting on those Nugget collections for the last 50 years. He was playing live back in those days. They were new records. So I got turned on to that. And of course, I ran out first to the jukebox and used change to hear the records, for the real records. And then, ran to the Newberries and bought them. I think they were 49 cents a piece in those days. So that's what first turned me on to music. And I've loved it ever since. I did miss the Beatles the first night they were on. I've had to watch that in archived stuff. I did see them the second time. And, but I always leaned, I guess, growing up in an African-American neighborhood, I leaned towards the Rolling Stones, the Animals, Spencer Davis, because they had more of what I was hearing every day. When I went to my friends' houses, that was with the records their parents played. If I visited them in if I went with them to their churches, that's the music that was sung. And I got turned on to that. And so when I decided to start doing a solo project and split off from the Voodoods, who were primarily playing Gulf Coast party music, I said, let me mix in all these different elements. So there are some folk style songs, and I redid House of the Rising Sun on the new album, a version I arranged with a couple of blues players I worked with for a year on the road. And so my influences come from all over the place. I was told when I was young I have big ears, although my brother says he likes my little shell-like ones because he's got big ears. But so yeah, it's I'll listen to anything once, non-judgmentally, and it's taught me a tremendous amount.
Yeah, I can understand that, because you mentioned the Stones and the Beatles and things like that. I mean, who didn't look up to them back in the day? And
That's right.
And they're still looking up to them now, And so I can see where you come from, and also because you have so much of a variety of different genres. That's and so forth. It's just that's what we stand for here at Paul Mash TV, because there's not a genre we don't do here.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm glad that you're into that anyway. So, well, everybody might want to find out more about you. Are you on social media, streaming media?
Yes, you can find Andy B. .and on Facebook, and I'm on Reverb Nation as Andy B. And I am on. I really need to update my LinkedIn. I've been ignoring that, but I am on LinkedIn as Andy Bernstein. And I'm trying to think. I'm sure you'll find some part of me on Deco's website, decoentertainment.com.
Okay. Do you have an official website?
It is in progress right now, and it is Andy Band Soul Folk. No dots, no nothing. Andy Band, BAND, Soul Folk, SOULFOLK.com. And I have a very young niece who's technically oriented, who's working on it for me.
All right. Well, you heard the man himself. He listed a lot of the places you can find him, so go there, and I'm sure he will love you for that. And this video we're about to play, Risen from the Grave, I do believe is the song.
Risen from the Dead.
From the Dead, I'm sorry.
Right, and that's...
tell us a little bit about this song. I'm sure.
Well, this is my gospel. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
No, it's fine.
This is the gospel tune for this album, telling myself weird little stories. And the fellow who did it, the videographer, is he was in a garage band with me when we were young, and he's doing his second act now, doing it's called animated photography. And he feeds photos into AI and it animates them. So he really liked Risen from the Dead, and actually had started working on it before Deco Entertainment decided it would be their first single. But everybody who hears it seems to think it's very upbeat, as gospel should be. It's a not, how can I put this? It basically asks the question, if you came back from the dead, what would you do with yourself? You know, I mean, we all have zombie movies. They're all eating other people, but that's not the way. It's not the way it is in the parable of Lazarus, certainly. And it's, you know, think about it. We've made this marvelous miracle into horror film stuff. So I thought I would write an upbeat, happy tune about a guy who finds himself back in life, trying to figure out what he's going to do. And Carrie, the video maker, Carrie Miller, fed a photograph of me into AI and asked it to show him a zombie that looked like me. And that's who the lead character is in this video.
Okay, well, I love the video, and you guys are going to love it too. And we're going to get to that in a second. But Andy, well, thank you so much for coming on today. We'd love to have you back again sometime if you got something new you want to plug for us.
Okay, well, I'm going to look at it this way. The Deco just released the album this week. It's on all of the Warner platforms, so your listeners, your watchers, your observers can they could download Risen from the Dead. They could download some of the other songs. I like to get feedback through the Facebook page and hear what people are thinking about in terms of it. And so I think we'll go with this. I was just talking to Carrie Miller this afternoon. He's working on another video for another song on the album. So if I could send you that, I will be glad to do it.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess that's all the time we have for now anyway, and we'll be back next time. And here's the song Risen from the Dead by Andy Bernstein, and it starts right now.
Well, I've risen from the dead, I've risen from the dead, and now that I've returned to life, I must straighten out my head. Don't know if it was heaven or hell, nothing was done or said, but I must figure out what to do, cause I've risen from the dead. Well, I'm no Romero zombie, no lurching rotten creep, just a guy who's woken up from that endless sleep, like Bella and like Boris, Dracula and Frankenstein. I must figure out what to do to occupy my time. I've risen from the dead, I've risen from the dead, and now that I've returned to life, I must straighten out my head. Don't know if it was heaven or hell, nothing was done or said, but I must figure out what to do, cause I've risen from the dead. I was floating in the darkness, not a breath or sign. Suddenly a flash of light and I opened up my eyes. Lying in my coffin, in that marble room, I pushed aside the heavy lid and strolled out of the tomb. Don't bury me on the lone prairie, don't put me in no gunny sack, don't throw my bones in a deep dark hole, cause I'll be coming back. Jack, don't name no new religion for a regular guy like me. I won't be making miracles like parting the Red Sea. Here's my take on what it was that got me off the hook. A smiling face, a song in my heart was all of what it took. Well, I've risen from the dead, I've risen from the dead. And now that I've returned to life, I must straighten out my head. Don't know if it was heaven or hell, nothing was done or said. But I must figure out what to do, cause I've risen from the dead. Yes, I must figure out what to do, cause I've risen from the dead. Hallelujah!